Hey, do you have a permobil wheelchair? And are you tired of the seating control switches not working, or having to apply excessive amounts of force to get them to do anything? Some chairs have these long toggles, some have smaller buttons, but if you notice, pushing on these doesn't do anything. But if you push really hard, then you can hear it beep, and it'll actually start to do something. Now the point of these toggles is they're supposed to be easy to push, but in my opinion, this is not very easy to push. Now I'm going to be doing this repair while I'm sitting in the chair, so I have a folding table here, and we're just going to kind of flop the joystick over onto the table. To start, we've got two Allen head screws right here. They're supposed to be Allens, unless your dealer or manufacturer decided that they just wanted to use whatever was laying around. And I don't remember if they're metric or standard, so let's try the standard ones first. Okay, they are not standard. They might be on your chair though, because everybody does whatever they want typically. Okay, so on my chair, this is a 3mm metric hex key, and what we're going to do is loosen these up. Actually, we're going to turn the chair off first. I would recommend not doing this while you're sitting in the chair, because you can't use the chair while you're doing this, and you know, other things. So we're going to loosen up these two screws here. Now you can see the whole joystick is loose, and also the ICS switch box assembly is loose as well. The way these mount to these chairs is the metal plate slips between the joystick and the swing away or the joystick mount. So basically all you do is take the two bolts off that hold this thing on, and then this will come right off. Okay, so we'll pull these out the rest of the way. Now in my chair there happens to be enough wiring slack to actually have room to do this without disconnecting it from the chair, because these ICS switch boxes, the connection point for the switch box is clear in the back of the chair, and it's a huge pain to get that out of there. Alright, now as you can see, the joystick is loose, and you can see this metal plate. The screws just basically go through the swing away mount, through this, and into the joystick. If you don't have a swing away, you're still going to have a very similar setup here. And I have enough wiring, so all I have to do is pull these over, and we can just set them here on the table. As you can see, there's enough wiring slack to make this happen. You may have to cut a few zip ties here and there, and you should be able to do this. The screws on this switch box are held in with Torx bits. We're gonna take these screws out of here. Now, a lot of times, depending on how used and or abused your chair is, not saying that you did it, but maybe somebody else owned it, whatever, these may be broken. Sometimes this mount comes off of here, plastic breaks. So it is highly likely, or possible, not likely, that some of these plastic bits will be broken. So you have to be really careful when you do this. We'll take our Torx bits here. There we go, this one fits. And we're going to take out all these screws. You may want to hold this together with your finger, because as you take these screws out, it may try and force the plastic open and might break it while you're doing it, so just be careful. And I'd also like to take this moment to say that this video is in no way endorsed, sponsored, or recommended by any manufacturer of wheelchair. Now, as you can see, the screws are different lengths. The ones in the back are long, and the ones in the front are short. But I would highly recommend organizing these, or just use your eyeballs, and you can see that the front of this is thicker than, or the back of this is thicker than the front, so it makes sense that the screws are going to be shorter. Alright, let me put this in my organization tray. Now, this process is going to work exactly the same for a chair that has push buttons or toggles. The interior is exactly the same on these. So we'll go ahead and pop this cover off very carefully, because once again they like to break. There we go, and the mounting plate should be attached to this. And then we can very carefully remove this connector, and you want to note the position of the wiring. I don't think, yeah, so this is keyed, so you're not going to be able to put it in backwards, but you know, it never hurts to take a picture with your phone when you're doing this, so you can see exactly how to put it back together when you're done. You snap a picture of that, and then you've got it for later. Now, 97.99% of the time, the reason these don't work is because the contacts in here get gummed up. This circuit board just kind of sits in here. It's held together with these little standoffs on the bottom portion of the case, and it holds the board on here. So you can very carefully push through from the front and pop this board out of here, and this will expose the contacts. Now, as you can see, these are a little bit slimy. If I rub my finger on here, my finger now is discolored. I've actually cleaned this one once before, so it's not as bad as it used to be, but you can still see a bit of schmoo here, and this whole thing will probably be sticky. What happens over time when these things sit around is these little carbon-based something, I don't know what they're made out of, but these little black things are conductive. They start to deteriorate over time a little bit, and also these little rubber gaskets will break, so you may get water, dog hair, Diet Coke, whatever happens to be around this inside there, and that's going to further corrode things. Now, you probably should use alcohol swabs, but I only have Clorox wipes. May not be the best idea, but I'm going to do it just to illustrate how to do this. What you want to do is take your circuit board with your alcohol swabs, and you want to just get in here and clean this. You don't want to push hard, you don't want to use anything sharp. You just want to go over it a few times. See all that dirt that's on there? This one's not even dirty. There we go. And then we want to repeat the process with these. You're going to want to be careful with these. I have not had these contacts come disconnected, but I'm pretty sure they're just glued on here. So you'll want to be careful. And you can see here, this part of the rag is clean. And once we wipe it a little bit, oh gross, look at all that filth. You can see that immediately it starts looking a lot better as soon as you wipe some of this gunk off of here. Or like an alcohol prep pad or something like that. I normally have a bunch of those laying around. I just wasn't planning ahead when I did this. And we're just gonna go through and clean all these off. Yeah, see, look at that. That schmoo is not conductive. So the reason you have to push so hard is because you're pushing against all that garbage and chocolate fudge or whatever it is and trying to make it connect. And as we know, Snickers bars do not conduct electricity. Actually, they might. I haven't tried that. Okay, topic for another video. So we're just gonna go around, clean all these up, and you can see how much gunk is in here. Also, while you're in here, all the chunks of whatever that is, you might as well clean those out too. The Q-tip would probably be good. The way I'm doing this has a high probability of tearing the rubber, so I don't recommend doing it this way. Once again, just showing you the concept. The reason I'm doing this and saying not to do it the way I'm doing it is because I have lots of wheelchairs and lots of parts laying around. Most of them are broken, so if I do happen to ruin this, I can just swap it out. Ew, gross. That's disgusting. I would also like to mention that this chair I'm sitting in has 4,700 miles on it. This has been cleaned once before, but no matter how careful you are, there's still going to be stuff that ends up getting in here. Turned off the camera there just for a minute and went around, dug in, cleaned this up a little bit more. We're going to give the board another once over with another clean one of these things, which we're calling alcohol for some reason. And as you can see, it seems to be clean. Okay, we're going to let this stuff air dry here for a few minutes. Most of the time, if these go bad, your dealer or insurance company is just going to replace it. These are expensive. This thing's like probably $400. Insurance will probably cover it, but if you're like me, you're gonna have to pay a copay. And spending money on things for no reason is not one of my favorite pastimes. I mean, I wouldn't say no reason. You might not have someone around to help you with this, or you may not be able to do it on your own. Regardless, if you want to get fancy, send a link to this video to your repair technician and say, hey, look, you can fix this. You don't need to just slam new parts in here. It's totally fine. All right, we're gonna let this dry and then reassemble. We have achieved sufficient dryness. Let's go ahead and put this thing back together. Oh, and you know, it wouldn't hurt to just run around with a rag inside here too. This only goes in here one direction. I'm sure you could force it in the wrong way, but see how it's curved up? And this is kind of curved up. Just kind of eyeball that. These are gonna line up here with these holes. Gently push those in there. Looks like we're good. Same with the circuit board. These little fancy ant maze looking copper contacts are gonna go face down. Okay, there's squirrels fighting over there. And let's go ahead and stick this board back in here. This will only go in one way. As you can see here, it doesn't want to push in. Don't force it, just kind of put the bottom in first. And then, there we go. It's not gonna take any force at all. If it's not going in there, just kind of line it up and try to drop it in, and yeah. Have I mentioned you should be careful? I feel like I'm saying that a lot. Now we're gonna take this base plate, hold this upside down, because if you try to put it down on top, well, everything will potentially fall out of there. It didn't just now, but anyways, put it in upside down. There's little hooks, or a track here on the side, and you'll just kind of slide it together. Oh, look at me, I totally forgot. We need to hook this back up to the chair before we do it. Okay, here's our joystick. There's gonna be a zip tie around the wire inside of here, and what that's designed to do is keep this from pulling out. So make sure the zip tie is on the inside, reference the photo you took with your phone, plug this back in, it's gonna snap into place. Run this wire so it's just kind of right inside here. And then, in a way that I'm sure I won't be able to show on the camera, put the lid back on. And again, no force or pressure is required. Okay, maybe a tiny bit, but do not smash the things. And as you can see, this gap all the way around appears to be equal. We will take our screws that we have so carefully organized, put the short ones here in the front where they go, and we're not going to tighten them all at once. We're just going to get them started. Go all the way around. Put each screw in just a little bit. And once each screw is in just a little bit, we can go ahead and just go around and tighten these up. You want them just snug. This plastic will break if you tighten it very far. So just till they bottom out is all you need. And boom, there we go, we're done. Now we can put this back on the chair. You'll also want to pay attention to the way the wiring was routed when you put this back together. Let's see. I think this went underneath. Yeah, it goes underneath like that. Kind of lay this on here, put this on top, and then we can pick this whole thing up. Yeah, so the wiring on this one goes underneath, and then the metal plate kind of goes on top here. Sandwiches in with the joystick. Double check your wiring, make sure it's not going to hit on anything, and then we can stick one of the screws in here, just very lightly. Put the other one in. This is the point also where you can adjust where you want this box. I usually like to put it as close to the joystick as possible, and that usually works the best for me. Just sort of hold everything in place here. Grab your friend Allen keys and tighten these up. Same rule applies. Just tighten one side most of the way, get the other side snug, and then go back around and tighten them up once you've made sure everything is right where you want it. Now these, it's okay to tighten up a little bit. Don't go nuts, but you can put a little bit of torque on these because these will come loose, which has happened to me before. So get them just a little bit snug. Obviously they're, 3mm Allen head bolts, so you don't want to strip them out. And there you go. It's now on there, it's attached. Let's give it a test. Power this thing up. Looks like the lights come on. Now let's see how much effort this requires. Oh, that's like, I'm just gonna push it with this zip tie to illustrate how little force. See, my feet are moving. Now that is what these are supposed to work like. It was getting so frustrating trying to mash into these. I also put a piece of electrical tape over the speaker on this thing, just so I don't get the startup sounds and whatnot. It's also gonna make the beeping sound when you push buttons a lot quieter. So when I'm in noisy environments, it was frustrating because I couldn't hear that beep. And I wasn't sure if I was pushing it hard enough, so I mashed on it even harder. Then you're at risk of breaking the little rubber thingy dealies. So anyways, there you go. That's how you fix this. If your insurance company wants to replace them, depending on how good they are, or if they feel comfortable opening things up, send them a link to this video. It's an easy fix, doesn't cost any money. It'll take, well, it's taken me like a half hour, including setting up this folding table. But it's an option that's not gonna cost money, and you can fix it. Almost all these chairs are gonna have this problem at some point. So yeah, there you go, done.